you have to ask yourself, what are you? And I know it's like, what the hell do you mean, Glendon? You have to ask yourself, who other are you and what are you doing? Are you a broker? Are you a creator? Now, I know you're thinking this may be part of the producer, consumer, hustler mindset video. And no, this is totally different nuances, totally different thought. And I had to really think, because as you build your business, you have to know who you are and what you're doing so you can own it. And one of the things that is kind of a point of derision for me at times is there are people that haven't taken the time to watch my videos, yet they think they know who I am and what I do, which makes them look like an idiot. And, you say it once or twice, it's funny, but to keep going on, well, Glendon is this and Glendon is that, without really any exploration into what the hell is Glendon, makes you look like the dumbasses you are. So part of what I'm going to do, and that's influencing this podcast, is I am a content creator now. That is what I do. Creating podcasts like the one that you're listening to, creating videos. There's 750 on YouTube, 630 are visible. There's 95 videos in the Hustler Mindset Project, which are not like anything on YouTube. I have some on Vimeo, and between everything that I've done as an author, I have 14 books. I am a content creator. Got started on YouTube in 2009, and I was still pretty much in the reseller mindset. It's something I did for well over a decade. From selling commercial office furniture to selling home furniture to buying storage units to buying estates. I would buy stuff and sell it to people. And for a very long time, that is who I was. And there are many people on YouTube, they've actually become friends over the years, because August 9th August 6th, it'll be 4 years on YouTube. And, it's like, wow, that's a long time. And there are people that have been with me since day one, but I have made some reiterations of who is Glendon Cameron, because being a content creator is something I've always wanted to be. Call it a dream deferred. And I really thought about it, because I've said it in many videos, and I'll say it again today. We don't do what we do for money. There's an emotional hook. There's an emotional attachment to everything that we do. And it's larger than money. And there are people in my circle, as well as folks online, that just can't understand, why would you give up all that money to make YouTube videos and to write books and to write dirty stories and to talk trash and to do all? Because it makes me happy. Happiness is a form of currency that is very hard to come by for some people. Some people have it in spades. They have truckloads of happiness. And there are other people, they don't even have a cup of happiness. And I haven't been this happy overall in a very long, long time. So happiness is a form of currency, it's a form of wealth, such as health, such as mental stability. And, in my wealth tree, so to speak, happiness, personal fulfillment, purpose, and then money is like 4 or 5, income, making money. That's 4 or 5, maybe 5 or 6, because there's other things that are before that. And if you are not an evolved person, or if you are poor as shit, it will never click in your mind, because you have no points of reference to even look at the life that I've designed. And I'm going to say that again, the life that I have designed. The life that I'm living is one of intent and purpose. It didn't just happen. It came about because I set some goals for myself, and they were realized. And now this is where it becomes even more interesting, because there are a lot of new people on YouTube, and they don't really understand YouTube is only 7 years old. 7, 8 years old, 2006. And it's gone through a lot of changes. Things that could happen. Give you an example. And this is part of the broker or your broker or creator, because I'm giving you my path and hopefully you will glean some things from it. When I first joined YouTube, there was 35, maybe 50 reseller storage auction type people. And some had really good videos, like Will, Terminal 99, those other, but essentially, I don't even know, Will might be the first one who really put the stuff up there, because the reseller community, and that's a term that I used and it's being bandied about, which is so funny since I'm not a reseller. It was a very, very small community. And using my hustler mindset in my business, I was like, wow, this is wide open. So I just cranked out the content. First year it was 200 videos. First year, 200 videos. Just cranked it out. And with that, there were videos that sucked ass. There were videos that fell flat. But just going through that process, I learned how to make videos by failing and succeeding and failing and succeeding. Many of the newer people don't want to go through that process. They're like, fuck that. I want to get whatever. And people are buying subscribers, or people are going to Fiverr and getting false likes and all kind of crazy stuff. And long term, that shit's not going to work. It's just not. But as a broker or a creator, going ahead making this choice, and I should go ahead and give you my definitions. I was a broker for many, many years. Being a broker is you look for situations that you can exploit. Go to Target, say you're doing Amazon FBA. You go to Target and you see that this toy is for $10. Pull out your phone. It's selling all day long for $90, and there's 10 of them. You're going to buy all 10 because you've just realized $1,000 profit for $100 spent, plus taxes and fees and whatever. So that is a broker. You are looking for opportunities because opportunities are everywhere. There are people that do things. I don't totally understand retail, why you have these products in the store, then you mark them down, then on another platform, which the store could easily put the stuff up there if they wanted to. I don't fully understand that. So, but the whole deal is, as a broker, you seek out opportunities to exploit them for profit. As a creator, you create your own opportunities for profit. And I've gone through that change where I am a creator. And that's one of the things that resell, and I still sell stuff and flip stuff on the side, but resell has taken a back seat to being a creator. Because when you are a creator, you're the factory, you are the distribution system, marketing, you do everything. And because you do everything, you get most of the profit. You get all of the profit. You get most of it or all of it, depending upon how you do it. And that is very, very intoxicating for me, because I am still in the infancy of my life as a creator. We're 4 years in. We're going in. 4 years as a creator. July 17th will be 4 years to be exact. I am really just getting the muscles on my, I'm just really starting to understand some things. And if you look at that old movie, The Karate Kid, wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. This grooming process, and you have to do it on both sides of the coin, whether you are a broker or a creator, it's the same thing. You have to go through a grooming process. For some people, the grooming process will be very short because they're going to hit it really hard. They're just going to keep hitting it. They're going to keep hitting it, and they're going to keep hitting it. I hit YouTube really, really hard when I really didn't have any competition. And I want you to think about that. I hit YouTube so hard that when the shows came on, I immediately ranked up at storage auctions, Craigslist, reselling, hustling, and I owned that category for a good 2 years. Pretty much owned it. And there were these people like, hey, you got lucky. And Luck had nothing to do with it, because if you listen to what I just said, when I had no competition, i.e., there wasn't really a market, I hit it hard to the tune of 200 videos my first year. This is the thing with whether you're being a broker or a creator. You've got to really go out and own your market. Make some mistakes. Lose some money. Yes, I'm going to say those curse words. Lose money. People are like, oh God, I can't lose money. By not losing money, you actually lose money because you're circumventing your learning curve. So you do all this stuff. You have to go through this process. And you have to figure out, what are you? Because once you figure out who you are, what are you, it becomes easier to design systems and processes to make yourself better. But long as you remain undefined and you're just, as what I call a get money hustler, I just got to get some money. I'm going to do Amazon FBA this month. I'm going to do eBay this month. I'm going to do Craigslist this month. And if none of those venues reach the income potential that you want, you immediately jump to something else. And you are boo-boo the fool because you're not building any experience. You're not getting your reps in. You're not increasing your knowledge base. You're just running from one thing to the next because you are stupid. Because if you were smart, you would realize you got to get good at something. You got to build up an experience level on something. Whether you are a broker or you are a creator. Now, let's talk about income potential. The income potential for brokers could be in the billions. There are companies out there that buy other companies, pull out the fat, make them real lean, fighting machines, sell them or make them run tighter and make a lot of money. So you can make billions being a broker. Creator. You can make billions being a creator, but there's one very, very subtle and salient difference. And I'm going to use George Lucas. George Lucas created the Star Wars franchise. And I was watching Star Trek, into the new Star Trek movie. And I just, was sitting there and I thought about George Lucas, Gene Roddenberry, and I was like, these guys created these wonderful science fiction franchises. In the 50s, I think Star Trek was created in the 50s and became on television in the 60s. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that because there are people on YouTube. You got the year wrong and therefore it invalidates the 50-minute podcast because you got the year wrong, and that's the only thing I can find that was wrong with it, so I had to say something to make myself relevant. But anywho, I looked at that, and they created these things, and they have stamina. The 60s and the 70s. Star Trek has made billions of dollars for a lot of people for decades. For decades. And that left no impression. And this is something else because I do a lot of research. People are in love with the stars, like, the actors, like the Brad Pitts, the Denzel Washingtons. But I go back and I look at the George Lucases of the world, the Steven Spielbergs, the producers and the directors make more money than the stars. And this is a lesson that Mel Gibson learned. Passion of Christ, we're not going to get into whether you believe it or not, or you hate it or whatever. He spent $25 million of his own money to make the movie, and the movie made like $300-500 million. Look at the returns on that. That one endeavor, which came because he did the Die Hard movies, he did all these movies that gave him the income to produce that movie, so it's all relevant. But that one movie made him more money in a few years than he did in his previous 3-decade-long career. 3 years, he made more money in 3 years than he did in the previous 30 because he was on the creator food chain. See, when you're a broker, there's a lot of people in your food chain. There are sometimes your distributors are going to make more money than you because you got to keep the thing going. But when you hit creator level, everyone in your food chain is under you. You could pick, choose. I mean, seriously, like if Spielberg or Lucas found this guy that says, look, this guy's the next best thing since sliced bread, that guy would become an instant millionaire because as creators, they create the food chain. They create the food chain. As a broker, you are part of an existing food chain with many different variables. As a creator, you create the food chain, you create the variables. During a very terse dating situation, I was talking to this girl, and she was just talking about, I'm going to take my ball and go home. And I said, well, you could do that. You could try that, but understand, your ball is in my sandbox, and in my sandbox is my rules. And she just kind of looked at me because she had never heard anything like that, because essentially that's how the situation was. And I took that and thought about that for this video. When you get to that point where you're not thinking outside the box, you're actually making the box. Going back to the Matrix, you're creating your own environment, your own sandbox, your own doctrine, your own rules, your own manifesto. You're creating that, and that's what writers get to do. Writers get to create, every book is a universe. They get to create towns, they get to create cities, they get to create people. They are demigods. They give life, they take life away, babies are born. There's a lot of power as a creator. There's a lot of power as an author, movie director, songwriter. You know, going back to no doubt Gwen Stefani, when they did that song that just put them on the record. If you don't know the backstory, Tony Cazal, I think that's his name, and Gwen were in a relationship, and she wrote that song when they broke up, and she had to perform that song on stage with the guy that broke her heart. And at that point, Gwen became a creator and the most successful member of the group. See, you see where I'm going with this. By becoming a creator, you not only make more money, you run the show. One of the biggest needs that human beings crave is control. Control is huge. Having the ability to control your work schedule, work hours, income, who you work with, who you don't work with, that is what happens on the creative level. As a broker, frequently you're working with people you don't like, because as a broker, it's not about your universe. It's not about your sandbox. It is about the deal. That's why the expression, it's just business, has come out to be. I'm at a point where if I don't like you, fuck you, I will not work with you. A few months ago, there was someone that offered me a lot of money, and I thought this individual was a dumbass, told him so. It's like, keep your fucking money and you have a nice life. Now, in my broker life, that never would have happened. If you see my video, I'm still with the black guy. As a broker, it's like, it's the deal. The deal, making the money, the margins are foremost, because you are a broker. You are looking for that opportunity to exploit. If there is no opportunity to exploit, there's nothing for you to do. Going back to the creator side, that doesn't exist. Because you're creating your opportunities. You are creating your opportunities. That's on you. So if you are working on a project that's yielding no fruit, you get to move to something else. Same thing as a broker. Because I said, as a broker, opportunities are endless. People are always going to do stuff. Corporations are going to do stuff. Homeowners. There will always be a lot of inventory in the market to flip. But due to disruption, displacement, the average bear consumer is becoming much more knowledgeable about the price of everything. Used to be when you went and bought a car, the dealer knew more about the car than you did. My latest vehicle purchase, I knew more about the vehicle than there was only one salesperson who actually taught me a few things, but the other 10, I knew more about the vehicle than they did. And that is what's happening in this disruptive economy. The knowledge gap, or, information asymmetry is non-existent in some areas for consumers and businesses. And that used to be the opportunity for exploitation. Sometimes it was marginal exploitation. Sometimes it was massive exploitation. And it's disappearing. Now, the thing is, just like it's disappearing for corporations, it's going to disappear for mom and pop resellers because it's coming. There's going to be an application, a product, or something that someone's going to be able to sell their stuff. Like I put up this video recently, the Eco ATM, how individuals could sell their own cell phones. And there's a few comments and there's a few videos I need to get to, but I haven't had a chance because I want to really explore those before I answer. That is going to disrupt the cell phone market. You have Sprint, because when I got the iPhone 5, I sold my 4S on Craigslist for $300, $275, $300, something like that. And they offered me at Sprint $250. In hindsight, because I had like one person call, never showed up, I sold the phone in 2 days. And I'm thinking, that additional $25, $50, was it really worth it? When I could have just put it there and been done with it. And that's how a consumer is going to start to think. That's how a consumer is going to think. The reason I pushed for it because of the hustler in me was that $25, that $50 was a big deal. But for average bear consumer, I can put it on Craigslist for $150, or I can hit this machine and get $125 right now. The disruption of their life for $25, many people are going to throw that phone in the machine. That's what's going to happen. And as that business model grows, and understand it will grow because mobile phones, cell phones, tablets, and stuff are they're appliances. There are many people who no longer own a laptop or a desktop. Their cell phone and their tablet is their way to get on the internet and communicate on the internet world and do stuff. That's it. So that's here to say you're going to see computer sales, desktop sales, laptop sales go down, down, down. Only people who are going to have laptops are folks who must have them. I see myself having a desktop or two and a laptop for a long time until something better comes along, because I can't do what I do on a phone or a tablet. I can make videos, but I can't make the type of videos I'm making. I could do podcasts, but they would not be the same. And also you run into storage issues. I would use the storage capacity of the biggest phone, which I think is 64, or the tablet, which is once again 64. I would go through that in a matter of, quickly. Let's put it this way. My iMac is 17 months old and has a 500 gig hard drive. I have 93 gigs left. So, yeah, I would churn through the storage, and that's a problem I have to solve. But what I'm telling you is, as a broker, you're going to be part of the disruptive economy, but you're going to be disruptive by technology. I look at a lot of stuff, and for a long time I sold a lot of stuff on eBay, and every now and then I'll go look at stuff I used to sell, and there's a few things that have gone up in price. That is atypical. The vast majority have gone down in price due to disruption, the many people getting into the business. So as a broker, you are really at the mercy of the marketplace all of the time. You're at the mercy of the marketplace when you go out and acquire inventory, and you're also at the mercy of the marketplace when you sell, because the way things are moving so fast, you could buy this item in January, and if you don't move it by February, some event could happen, and in March, it's $50 less than what it used to be. You see this happening all over the place across the board with many different products. And this is something I struggled with because I do a lot of research and I look at it, and this is where it was easy for me to make my decision to flip-flop my efforts instead of going back to being 100% reseller or 80% reseller, 20% creator. I am more like 90% creator, 10% reseller, because I was able to write a book for a market that existed, but there wasn't a lot of people into it. So I did very well with that. I see other markets like that all over the place on the creative side that people are not addressing, which I can exploit. And that's why I was like, hey, that's why I was able to take a big hit on income, because I know in the future, based on the things that are happening and what has happened, I'm going to quadruple my income when I was in the storage auction business at some point. It may be 5 years from now. It may be 10 years from now, but it will quadruple. I could not do that in the resale business. Couldn't do it, because to get to the level where I was making six figures, we had a 10,000 square foot warehouse. We had another warehouse. We had trucks. We had employees. And I do believe you can make six figures out of your house, or six figures with a warehouse and minimum employees. But if you are buying and selling used stuff, you're going to top out pretty quickly. And once you top out with price compression that's hitting everything, look at, your television or your computer or whatever, that flat screen at 46. I just saw the other day, like my 46 inch, I paid, because it was $1,500, and I saw it on crazy sale for like $10.99. I went in and got it instantly because I had watched it. It already had the internet stuff on it, smart TV, LED. I saw a bigger television of the same capacity recently for it was a one of those living social sales. It was free shipping, like under $400. I think it was refurbished, but that's almost a third less than what I paid for the same type of capacity. My television is 2.5 years old now, maybe 3. Pricing compression is happening all over across the board on stuff you don't need, things you want. Stuff you need like food, groceries, health insurance, college, shit's going through the roof. So as a broker, unless you grow your business as fast as you can, once you hit that ceiling, you could be working harder for less money. And that's one of the reasons that, we just continue to grow. And, my partner and we had fights about it because I was pushing so hard to grow the business, because I know what happens if you don't grow. And for those of you who are on the broker side, resellers, hustlers, you're dealing with a much more volatile and vibrant market than what I dealt with. And it was hard when I did it. I do believe there will be people who will become millionaires as brokers in the resale game, but they're going to be very tech-oriented, they're going to be very crafty, and they're going to have a serious plan, and they're going to hit it hard. I think the average broker, reseller is going to catch hell, because for the end user or the consumer, it's going to be very easy for them to sell their items and get very close to what you could get without the hassle. That's the part of the disruptive economy. Because of that, you're going to have less access to the most robust products. There will always be people who will not know the price of what they have, and there are in indigent circumstances where they must get rid of it because they need some scratch. But that's going to flip-flop. So as a creator, you have even more challenges, but you, in my opinion, and I am not just speaking it, I'm doing it indeed, you have more options and ways out, because in one of my writing groups, there's a lot of conversations about self-publishing and what's going on. And based on what I see is going to happen, I've made some moves and some actions that have proven to be very profitable for me because I think it's just going to be the future. They look at me kind of crazy because the stuff I say and the things I do, because to me, part of the creator mindset, Amazon, iTunes, these are wonderful platforms to place product on. But for me, they're After Effects platforms. I'm going to put my stuff on my platform first, and I'm going to put it on my platform cheaper, or I'm going to create, because when you do Amazon, KDP, in their terms of service, you can't sell on your site cheaper than you sell it on their platform. But this is the hustler mindset. I can create a bundle like I talked about in the beginning of this podcast. So I'm not selling the same product. I am selling a different product. That's the creator hustler mindset. So I can get around that by creating a special bundle that I can't create on those platforms because I don't have the capability. Not yet. I think at some point that will come. But once again, as a creator, having your own platform, building your own tribe, it gives you immensely more power, profits, happiness, and control than just being a broker and making your money in someone else's sandbox. And that's what a lot of people do. If you're operating on eBay, and there are people who become millionaires from eBay, I think if I hadn't got fucked by PayPal, because it wasn't eBay, it was PayPal, really never had a problem with eBay per se. It was always PayPal. Because if PayPal did something to you, then they told eBay, they narked on you, and then eBay was like, and they freaked out and they took all your listings down. I may have been an eBay millionaire because, I went to eBay Live, did all this stuff. I was in love with eBay, but that whole PayPal thing, just holding your money and like, well, we don't care if you didn't do anything wrong. We're going to hold your money and there's nothing you can do about it. That kind of spooked me out. And the second time it happened, I just said, fuck it. So, but when you are in someone else's sandbox, their rules, and understand, what is a sandbox? Let's just take it really elementary. A sandbox is an enclosure. There's walls all around you. It may be a very large sandbox, but nevertheless, it is still enclosed. And you have to deal with their business. Like, you can't go to the park and like, I don't like the size of this sandbox, and just start taking it apart to expand. You can't do that. But if it's your sandbox, you can blow that bitch up if you want to, and no one's going to say boo. That is the power. Now, let's talk about the creator and the broker side, and why do so many people move to brokerage versus creation. It's much easier to be a broker. You don't have to have a lot of commitment. You don't have to have a lot of money. And if it doesn't work out, it's not your sandbox. You didn't really lose anything. Well, as a creator, you've got a lot of skin in the game. You could be embarrassed. It's substantially harder to be a creator, but it's eminently more rewarding. And then there's the point of delayed gratification. As I said earlier in this podcast, I have not equaled my storage auction income yet. But in the future, I know I'm going to kick it in the ass. Delayed gratification, adjustment of lifestyle, getting my licks in, paying my dues. Those things are like a pro they're just apropos to many people because they're like, I don't want to do that. I am entitled. My mother told me I was special, and I don't have to do that shit. Glendon Cameron, you have to do that shit, but I don't have to do it because I'm special, and I'm special just because I'm special. And understand, I'm special. And I see a lot of that, and I think a lot of people are shortchanging their success because they do not want to pay any dues. They don't want to build anything. They just kind of want it to happen instantly. And life doesn't work that way. If you go back to the process of you being born, you had to grow in your mother's wombs for anywhere from, because when you add it all up, it's really 10 months. It's more than 9 months. But, 10 months if you're lucky, 9 months if you're premature. Almost a year of you just in a protective environment of just growing. And then when you came out, you were just cute and you burped. And then it was another 2 to 3 years where you could you're walking, you're talking, you're potty trained. And even then, it took another 16, 17, 18 years for you to get close to being an adult. And if you do research, your brain doesn't fully mature and stop growing until you're like 25, I believe. So it's a 25-year journey for you just to become a regular person. It's 2.5 decades. And people act like 6 months to 2 years is a life sentence to work on a business or an endeavor before realizing big games. I'm in year 4, and I'm not even close to the storage auction income, but I do have some benefits that I did not have in the storage auction business. Freedom. Take example. I've been sick for the last 2 weeks. I was still able to work on my business. I was still able to do research. I was still able to make money. I released a new product when I was sick, threw up a video with just music, and I was able to make sales when I was sick working at home. When I got sick in the storage auction business, the shit had everything shut down. And that looms very large in my motivation. It looms very, very large in my motivation because some people have made little jokes like, chronic fatigue syndrome, I was tired. There are people, I think I have more sensitivity to people being sick first and foremost because I worked in an emergency room. I have seen, when you see a car accident on the news, I've actually seen the person from the car accident come through the emergency room. I have seen people with their eyeball hanging to the side. I have seen people literally cut in half, decapitated. So health is a very valuable form of currency. And I don't take it lightly anymore. I used to. I really did. But I don't take it lightly anymore. Watching my best friend die. So that's very large. So I have a situation where if I am sick, I can still make money. If I can't talk, I can still make money. If I can't get up and go out and get myself some food or anything, I can still make money where I can pick up the phone, or actually, I couldn't speak, go online and type in my order, and X minutes later, the food's at my door. To me, that is worth not making as much money and not having the freedom, because I really want to say I'm more wealthy now than I was in the storage auction business because of the time freedom that I have now that I didn't have before. I actually think I'm much wealthier because, as I sit here and I tell you that I am sick, yet I'm still able to make money and not have to go to a job and feel even more run down, because when you get in your car and you drive and you're stressed out and you're already sick, so you get sicker. And I look at that, and that is one of the big drivers, because I can have a much longer career as a creator than I can as a broker, because it's stressful being a broker because of the dynamics of the switching of the marketplace. Now, there will be people that would disagree with me and say it's easier to be a broker because being a creator, writing books, being cussed out, people leaving bad reviews, you were doing a movie, people's like, that shit sucked, And I would say being cussed out in the sales meeting because I was underperforming, it prepared me for the rigors of the creative life. I mean, someone left like a bad review on Making Money A to Z, and I actually laughed when I saw it because it was funny. It was a 1-star, and I was just, oh. And, in the first few years, I would have lost it. I would have been depressed for a week, like, oh, God, they don't like me. And now I'm like, oh, well. And that's the getting your reps in, the grooming, the seasoning, going through those processes so when greater success presents itself, you know how to handle it versus doing drugs and highballs and getting drunk and hanging with hookers. I mean, seriously, I think that's why a lot of these people who really get success so quickly go overboard, because it's too much too soon mentally. I don't think the money's too much. It's take recently Johnny Ball. He's a freshman. He had all the success, and he's kind of cracking under the pressure of being a famous person. And I know it sounds strange. It's like, wait a minute, you're famous. And I will tell you, I get recognized because I have people looking at me in public, and I know the stare because they're like looking like, I know that guy, but they can't place it, and I don't help them out. And sometimes people are like, hey, are you that guy? I was like, no, I'm much better looking than he is. Because the thing is, I don't have a lot of fame, okay? I mean, seriously, we're talking basement level of fame, behind the refrigerator, in the box fame. But I look at my experiences on YouTube. I look at a lot of the stuff that has been said about me, and understand this is a very, very small arena. And I can only imagine what it's like to be a Charlie Sheen or to be a Halle Berry. And it just my experiences here, I don't do any more, I guess, hate videos or dislike videos or commentary videos on celebrities based on the stupid stuff they do, because I kind of get it. When you become a famous person, you lose so many things that a lot of us take for granted. And once again, being a creator, writing under a pen name, I can do so much and still maintain that I am the guy on the street persona. I can go to restaurants. I could do this. I could still have a very normal, not totally disruptive life. And I have a few pen names that people have been like, what's your pen name? And they want to go on this Amazon. And I think these people mean well, but I made a promise to myself, I'm not telling anybody my pen names unless one just really breaks big. And even then, I may not do it, because the freedom is more important than the fame. Because it's nice just in the middle of the day, because once again, going to the creative lifestyle versus the broker lifestyle. If, like today, there's a lot of auctions going on, it's the middle of the month, I would not be doing this podcast. I would be out there at auctions buying and moving stuff. Normally during the day, I start work around 9:30, 10. If I have to run errands, I move that up to 12, because I will wait till traffic dies down, go run my errands 9:30, 10, 11 to 12, come back before traffic starts building up, and start my workday. That is the creator lifestyle, and that's one of the reasons I work really hard to maintain it, because it's addictive. And this addiction has superseded the addiction of getting new stuff, new deals, finding odd and unique and wild stuff. It's still a high, and I have some friends that I kind of go hang out with when they do it, and I kind of get my high. But I look at this, and once again, I'm in the infancy of my creator world. I have much more time as a broker, reseller. The next 4 years are going to be awesome, grand, and over the top, because I'm starting to figure some stuff out. Because I have no truck with telling you that when I first started, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I have no problem saying that, because it's true. I made massive mistakes. I did so many stuff, crazy things, god-awful, hideous covers, all kinds of crazy shit. But I learned, and I made money. So I was making money to learn how to do better, to make more money. That's how I look at it. And I actually put myself still in those situations, because you're going to learn more getting your dues, making mistakes, than you will just from being successful. So just something for you to chew on. Who are you? Are you a broker? Are you a creator? What do you want to do? Where do you want to take your business? Have you thought about the next 5 years, the next 10 years, the next 20 years? What do you want to do? Why are you doing this stuff? Because you have people who are doing things and they're calling themselves one thing, but they're living the life of another thing. And with this kind of confusion, you're not going to get maximum efficiency from your efforts, which is a waste of time and could lead to a reduced amount of money coming into your life. Now, if that's not worth thinking about, I don't know what is. All right, this is Glendon Cameron, and I will see you on the good side. If you're still here, you might be, you may not be, I'm going to make a special offer for those who hung around this long. You have to do it like this. Go to YouTube page. Actually, no. I'm going to leave it up. Go to storageauctionshogun.com. Go to the contact form and say, hey, Glendon, I want to be part of the Hustler Mindset Project. And I will let you in for $59.95. And that will be the full membership where anything that happens after you sign up, ebook, audio course, whatever, you get as part of membership. And as long as you maintain your monthly fees, your price will never go up. But you have to send it to me. Hey, G, I want into HMS 300 for $59.95 full membership. Send that to me, and I will make it happen. And with that, I will now see you on the good side.